The Hot Zone by Richard Preston is a non-fiction book that delves into the origins and spread of highly infectious diseases, such as the Ebola and Marburg viruses. The book is divided into 5 sections, each with several chapters. In this analysis, we will provide an overview of each chapter and highlight the key themes and events. Part 1: The Shadow of Mount Elgon. Chapter 1: Something in the Forest. The book opens in 1980 in a research facility in Reston, Virginia, where a shipment of monkeys from the Philippines arrives. The monkeys start to die in large numbers, and a team of scientists is dispatched to investigate. The chapter introduces the concept of Ebola virus and how it was first discovered. Chapter 2: The Monkey House. The scientists quickly realize that the monkeys are infected with a deadly virus, later identified as Ebola Reston. The virus is highly contagious, but fortunately, it does not affect humans. The chapter discusses how the virus was first identified and the process of containing it. Chapter 3: Smoky Mountain. The chapter shifts to the Philippines, where the monkeys were originally from. The author describes the living conditions of the people who work and live near the facility and how they are exposed to the virus. Chapter 4: The First Angel. The chapter discusses the history of viral hemorrhagic fevers, including Ebola and Marburg, and their potential impact on humanity. It introduces Dr. Shem Musok, who is known for his work on Marburg virus in Africa. Chapter 5: Kaitum Cave. The chapter focuses on the history of the Ebola virus and its potential origins. It discusses how Ebola may have originated in bats and how it could spread to humans. Chapter 6: An American Plague. The chapter describes the history of smallpox in the United States and how the disease was eventually eradicated. It raises the question of whether a similar approach could be used to contain Ebola and other deadly viruses. Part 2: The Monkey House. Chapter 7: The Fourth Horseman. The book jumps back to Reston, Virginia, where the scientists are struggling to contain the Ebola Reston virus. The chapter introduces the concept of biocontainment and how it is used to prevent the spread of deadly viruses. Chapter 8: The Monkey House. The chapter focuses on the process of cleaning and decontaminating the facility where the infected monkeys were housed. It highlights the risks involved in handling deadly viruses and the importance of taking precautions. Chapter 9: Red Eyes. The chapter describes the symptoms of the Ebola virus and how it affects the body. It highlights the potential danger of the virus and how easily it can spread. Chapter 10: A Bad Day at Reston. The chapter discusses the potential impact of the Ebola Reston virus on the United States and how it could potentially cause an epidemic. It highlights the efforts of the scientists and researchers who worked to contain the virus. Chapter 11: Clean Rooms. The chapter describes the process of decontaminating the facility and the steps taken to prevent the spread of the virus. It emphasizes the importance of safety precautions when handling deadly viruses. Part 3: The Monkey House. Chapter 12: The Invisible Writing. The book jumps back to the origins of Ebola in Africa and how it spread to humans. The chapter highlights the cultural practices that may have contributed to the spread of the virus and the challenges faced by researchers in identifying the disease. Chapter 13: Diagnosis. The chapter discusses the efforts of doctors and researchers to diagnose and identify the Ebola virus. It highlights the challenges they faced in treating patients and containing the virus. Chapter 14: The Monkey House. The chapter jumps back to the Reston facility and the ongoing efforts to contain the Ebola Reston virus. It describes the process of removing the infected monkeys and the challenges of disposing of their bodies safely. It also describes the efforts of the scientists to develop a vaccine for Ebola. Chapter 15, Jerry Jocks. The chapter introduces Colonel Jerry Jocks, a veterinarian and scientist who was tasked with leading the team responsible for containing the Ebola Reston virus at the Reston facility. It describes the difficulties he faces in managing the team and the risks involved in handling the virus. Chapter 16, A Frenchman. The chapter discusses the history of the Ebola virus and how it was first identified in 1976 in the Democratic Republic of Congo. It introduces Dr. Pierre Rollin, a French researcher who has studied Ebola extensively. Chapter 17, No Place to Hide. The chapter describes the potential impact of a viral outbreak on society and the challenges of containing such an outbreak. It highlights the importance of preparedness and response planning. Part 4, Kidam Cave and Beyond. Chapter 18, Kidam Cave. The chapter returns to the question of the origins of Ebola and how it may have originated in bats. It describes the process of studying the bats in Kidam Cave in Kenya and the potential risks involved. Chapter 19, The Monkey House. The chapter returns to the Reston facility and the ongoing efforts to contain the Ebola Reston virus. It highlights the risks involved in handling the virus and the importance of taking precautions. Chapter 20, A Traveler. The chapter introduces Charles Monet, a French expatriate who contracts the Ebola virus while on a safari in Kenya. It describes the symptoms he experiences and the efforts of medical professionals to treat him. Chapter 21, The Earth's Immune System. The chapter discusses the potential for viruses like Ebola to have a catastrophic impact on human populations. It highlights the importance of maintaining biodiversity and the potential benefits of natural remedies. Part 5, The Coming Plague. Chapter 22, The Monkey House. The chapter returns to the Reston facility and the ongoing efforts to contain the Ebola Reston virus. It highlights the challenges faced by the scientists and researchers working to contain the virus. Chapter 23, The Shadow of Mount Elgon. The chapter discusses the potential for a viral outbreak to occur in Africa and the challenges of containing such an outbreak. It highlights the importance of international cooperation and response planning. Chapter 24, Beyond the Ebola River. The chapter discusses the history of the Ebola virus and its potential origins. It highlights the importance of studying viruses and the potential benefits of developing vaccines. Chapter 25, The Monkey House. The book concludes with a final chapter that reflects on the potential for a global pandemic and the importance of being prepared for such an event. It highlights the need for continued research and development of vaccines and treatments for deadly viruses.